Good morning. I am Dr. James Whitaker, and I want to start today by asking you something that might make you a little uncomfortable. How much money have you spent on blood pressure medication in the last 5 years? Think about it. The copays, the refills, the follow-up appointments when the medication stopped working as well as it used to. The second prescription added on top of the first, the third added on top of the second. For most men over 60 in America, that number is in the hundreds, sometimes the thousands of dollars. And through all of that spending, through all of those pills and appointments and adjustments, has your blood pressure actually gotten better? Or has it just been managed, held in place, kept from getting worse, but never actually improving? If you are honest with yourself, for most of you the answer is the second one. And that is not your fault. And it is not entirely your doctor's fault either. It is a system that is built around managing symptoms rather than addressing root causes. But today, I am going to tell you about something that costs $4 at your local grocery store, that a growing body of clinical research shows can lower systolic blood pressure faster and more effectively than some of the most commonly prescribed blood pressure medications, including lisinopril, which is currently one of the most prescribed drugs in the United States. And I am going to explain exactly why it works, how to use it, and what one man from Dallas discovered when he added it to his morning routine. But I want you to stay with me through the science first. Because if you understand why this works, you will actually use it. And if you just hear, "Eat this food," without understanding the mechanism, you will try it for 3 days and give up when life gets busy. The mechanism is everything. So give me 2 minutes before I tell you what the food is. Your blood pressure is controlled, more than almost anything else, by the flexibility and responsiveness of your arterial walls. When those walls are healthy, elastic, and relaxed, blood flows through them easily. Your heart does not have to work hard, and your pressure stays low. When those walls are stiff, constricted, or coated in calcified plaque, your heart has to generate enormous force to push blood through them, and your pressure climbs. We talked about nitric oxide in the last video, the Nobel Prize-winning molecule your body produces inside your arterial walls that acts as a natural relaxant for the entire cardiovascular system. Today I want to tell you about the dietary pathway to nitric oxide. Because there are 2 ways your body produces this molecule. One is through physical shear stress, the friction of blood moving quickly through your arteries. The other is through something you eat. And this dietary pathway is so powerful that researchers at Queen Mary University of London described it as one of the most significant nutritional discoveries in cardiovascular medicine in the last 20 years. Here is how it works. Certain foods contain extremely high concentrations of compounds called inorganic nitrates. When you eat these foods, the nitrates travel into your saliva, where specific bacteria in your mouth convert them into nitrites. Those nitrites then travel into your stomach and your bloodstream, where your body's own chemistry converts them into nitric oxide. The same nitric oxide that relaxes your arterial walls, the same nitric oxide that drops your blood pressure, but through a completely different route, through what you eat rather than through physical movement. And the food with the highest concentration of dietary nitrates of any food on Earth, by a significant margin, is beetroot. That is the $4 item. Beetroot. You can buy it fresh, you can buy it pre-cooked and vacuum-sealed in the vegetable aisle, or you can buy it as juice. And before you tell me you do not like beets, give me 1 more minute, because the research on this is going to make you reconsider. In 2010, researchers at Queen Mary University of London published a landmark study in the journal Hypertension. They gave hypertensive patients either 250 milliliters of beetroot juice, about 1 cup, or a placebo drink that looked and tasted identical but had the nitrates removed. Within just 1 hour of drinking the beetroot juice, the patients showed a significant reduction in blood pressure. After 24 hours, their systolic blood pressure was an average of 7 to 8 points lower. After 4 weeks of daily consumption, it was 10 to 12 points lower. And in a subgroup of patients with systolic readings above 150, the reduction was as high as 14 points. To put that in perspective, lisinopril, one of the most commonly prescribed blood pressure medications in America, produces an average systolic reduction of 8 to 10 points in the first month of use. The beet juice matched or exceeded that, with 0 side effects. No dry cough, which affects up to 20% of lisinopril users. No elevated potassium levels. No dizziness. No fatigue. Just a lower blood pressure reading, driven by your body's own biochemistry, triggered by something you ate. Now let me tell you about Frank. Frank is 66 years old. He lives in Dallas, Texas, where he spent 31 years as a postal worker, walking routes, carrying bags, out in the Texas heat more days than he can count. He retired 4 years ago, and about a year into retirement, at a routine checkup, his doctor told him his systolic was running at 153. Not emergency territory, but high enough to warrant medication. His doctor prescribed lisinopril. Frank filled the prescription, took it home, and within 2 weeks he had a dry, persistent cough that drove his wife absolutely insane. His doctor switched him to a different medication. That one gave him headaches. The third one made him dizzy every time he stood up from his chair, which terrified him because he lived alone when his wife traveled to see their grandkids in Houston. He called his daughter and told her he felt like a guinea pig. 3 medications in 4 months, each one with a side effect that made daily life worse, and his blood pressure was still sitting at 148. His daughter, who had been watching health videos online, told him about beetroot. Frank, who grew up in rural Texas and had exactly 0 emotional attachment to beets, was skeptical. But he was also frustrated and tired of side effects. So he bought a bottle of beetroot juice from the health food aisle at his local H-E-B grocery store, $4.29. He drank 1 cup every morning with his breakfast. The first week, he did not notice much. The second week, his morning readings started trending down. 144, 141, 139. By the end of the 4th week, he was consistently running at 135 to 138. His doctor, at the 1-month follow-up, looked at his readings journal and then looked at Frank and said, "Whatever you are doing, keep doing it." Frank told him about the beet juice. His doctor was quiet for a moment and then said, "The research actually does support that. I should mention it to more patients." Frank is still drinking his morning cup of beet juice. His blood pressure has been consistently in the low to mid-130s for 7 months. He has not had a medication side effect in that entire time because his doctor has been working with him to gradually reduce his prescription dose as his readings continue to improve. Now, I want to make sure you understand exactly how to use this, because the way you consume beetroot matters. The nitrate to nitric oxide conversion I described, the one that happens in your mouth through oral bacteria, depends on one thing that most people do not think about. It depends on those bacteria being present and active. And this means 2 things. First, do not rinse your mouth with antibacterial mouthwash before drinking beet juice or eating beets. Antibacterial mouthwash kills the oral bacteria that convert nitrates to nitrites. Studies have shown that using antibacterial mouthwash before consuming beets reduces the blood pressure benefit by up to 60%. This surprised a lot of researchers when they first found it. But it makes complete mechanistic sense. You are killing the very bacteria that start the conversion chain. If you use mouthwash, use it at a different time of day, not in the morning before your beet juice. Second, and this one surprises people, do not take antacids or acid-reducing medications like omeprazole within 2 hours of eating beets. The nitrite to nitric oxide conversion in your stomach requires an acidic environment. Antacids and proton pump inhibitors reduce stomach acidity, which slows that conversion significantly. If you take a stomach acid medication, take your beet juice at a time when the medication's effect is at its lowest, typically in the afternoon if you take the acid medication in the morning. The best time to consume beetroot is in the morning, approximately 30 to 60 minutes before you expect your blood pressure to be at its daily peak. For most men, that peak occurs within the first 90 minutes of waking due to the cortisol awakening response we discussed. So drink your beet juice first thing in the morning, with your water, before coffee. There is also a second patient I want to tell you about. James is 71 years old, a retired mechanic from Denver, Colorado. James had been on 2 blood pressure medications for 4 years when his son showed him the Queen Mary University study. James is not the kind of man who trusts things easily. He spent decades diagnosing engine problems by listening, feeling, and methodically ruling things out. He applied the same approach to the beet juice claim. He started a written log. Every morning, same time, same conditions. He took his blood pressure, recorded it, then drank his cup of beet juice. He did this every day for 12 weeks. At the end of week 12, he sat down with his log and did the math. His average systolic for the first 2 weeks, before the beet juice had fully built up in his system, was 151. His average for weeks 10 through 12 was 136. 15 points, consistent, documented, in his own handwriting, in a spiral notebook he keeps on his kitchen counter to this day. James showed the notebook to his cardiologist. His cardiologist photographed every page of it. And at that appointment, for the first time in 4 years, James left with a lower medication dose rather than a higher one. Now let me give you the practical details. 1 cup, approximately 250 milliliters, of beetroot juice per day is the dose used in most clinical studies. If you prefer whole beets, approximately 200 to 250 grams of cooked or raw beetroot provides a comparable nitrate dose. You can also find beetroot powder at most health food stores and many regular grocery stores. 1 to 2 teaspoons mixed in water provides a similar dose and is often more convenient. The taste of beetroot juice takes some getting used to. If you find it too earthy, mix it with a small amount of apple juice or add a squeeze of lemon. The vitamin C in lemon actually enhances the nitrate conversion slightly. Beet chips and pickled beets do not work. The processing and pickling methods used for those products reduce the nitrate content significantly. One thing to be aware of: beetroot will turn your urine and sometimes your stool pink or red. This is completely harmless. It is called beeturia, and it happens in approximately 10 to 15% of people. If you see pink in the toilet after starting beet juice and you are not expecting it, do not panic. It is the beets. If you are on blood pressure medication, do not stop taking it when you start the beet juice. Add the beet juice alongside your medication. Track your morning readings. If your readings consistently drop below your target range, work with your doctor to adjust your dose. That conversation should happen with medical supervision, not unilaterally. But the goal, the realistic, achievable goal for most men over 60 with mild to moderate hypertension, is to use nutritional tools like this to reduce your dependence on medication over time, under your doctor's guidance. Let me be direct with you the way I always try to be. Beetroot is not going to replace medication for men with severe hypertension, advanced cardiovascular disease, or readings consistently above 170. If that is you, please continue your prescribed treatment and bring this information to your doctor as a complement, not a replacement. But for the large majority of men over 60, whose blood pressure is in that frustrating range of 140 to 160, stubborn, resistant, hard to control, always requiring more medication, this is a real, evidence-based, inexpensive tool that your doctor probably has not mentioned, and that has the clinical data to back it up. The research is there. The mechanism is understood. The Nobel Prize was won for the science behind it back in 1998, and the food that delivers it costs $4 at your grocery store. You have nothing to lose by trying it for 4 weeks and tracking your own numbers the way James did. Nothing to lose, and potentially a great deal to gain. If this video helped you, please hit like and subscribe. I put out evidence-based health information for men over 60 every single week. Leave your age and city in the comments below. I love hearing from you, and I read every one. And share this video with another man who has been struggling with blood pressure and has not been given this information. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.